Twin Tier Sunday is an action-packed show with some major horsepower. We preview this year's Cheez-It 355 at the Glen. Stay tuned.
You're watching Twin Tier Sunday with Jennifer Sheahen.
Welcome to Twin Tier Sunday. It's officially prep time for this year's big race at Watkins Glen International. Monday, drivers were testing their cars for the race, and it seems they are getting revved up and ready for action.
Always a fun place to come, and got real close last year. Finished I think third or whatever, but we were right there in the hunt all day long, and hopefully we'll be able to get over that hump this year.
As a driver, just run laps around, and that makes it most enjoyable. And obviously we look at this race that we have a good shot at winning. That's why we're here.
Whenever you come here, you realise that the tyre that Goodyear bring and the car that we have and the style of track that it is, it just all blends together really well. And I think that some of my success here is that it just feels like a good package.
Fans will enjoy the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East, NASCAR Nationwide, and NASCAR Sprint all in one weekend, with the Bully Hill Vineyards 125 on Friday, the Zippo 200 on Saturday, and Cheez-It 355 at the Glen on Sunday. So you just learned a little bit about the big upcoming race. Right now we're going to talk to Michael Printup. He is the president here at Watkins Glen International. He's going to tell us a little bit about this year's race and some of the highlights.
Well, I think the most exciting thing that's coming up this next weekend, just a short 9 days away, is we have 3 series here. We have Bully Hill joined us this year in the K&N 125 with the Zippo 200, and of course the Cheez-It 355 at the Glen on Sundays. That's a lot of content, and then we have so many fun things for all the fans to do. It's just it's kind of really exciting for me.
Now, how many fans normally come to this every year?
We get a little over 100,000 people for the weekend. I mean, it's just a lot of fun, and the camping is we sold out camping this year back in December, so reserve camping. We still have general admission camping left open, but it just sells out earlier and earlier every year. It starts to show us that the fun is really there. Not that we didn't know that, but there's a lot of fun out there in the campgrounds, and it's a really great family atmosphere.
That's great. How many drivers do we have at the event?
For today's testing, we have 6, and then today and tomorrow. And then come the weekend, there's 43 just in the NASCAR series, and there's another 38 in the nationwide, and then another 25 to 28 on the K&N side.
That's wonderful. Now, Michael, how long have you worked for Watkins Glen International?
I've been with the company for 14 years now, but I've been in Watkins Glen now for 5, so it's gone fast.
That's wonderful. Now, how do you feel about being involved with such a big event here in the Southern Tier?
Well, I always say it's humbling because we all get a piece. There's only 23 of these in the entire country. So, we all get a piece. We're one of 23 people across the country. So I think that's really fun. And I think, we hold the largest sporting event in New York State in a single day every single year. And, we've been fortunate enough where Governor Cuomo and his team have been very supportive. The local politicians have been very supportive. And, we're a big sport in a big state. So we like to have a little fun with that.
Wonderful. Now, after 5 years, what has been your favorite memory that you've made here? Was it the first time seeing the race happen, or was it this year getting ready and adding a new race? What was your favorite memory so far that you've made here?
Wow, that's a tough question because every Sunday when the big race starts on Sunday, I'm always amazed. And when it's over, I'm amazed because I just can't believe all the fans that come out, and I can't believe how well our team performs doing it all the time. And I think that's probably my biggest accomplishment, just to sit back and watch everybody enjoy themselves. I think that's just really, really rewarding for me.
Wonderful. All right. Is there anything you'd like to add or tell people or kind of forewarn them about what's going to be happening this weekend?
Well, August 7th through the 10th is the largest sporting event in New York State. So come on out. You still have tickets and general admission camping available at www.theglen.com.
Thank you so much. WENY's very own Nick Quantrini tested the track out a few weeks just before the Salem 6 Hours at the Glen. Continental Tire hosted a race car ride-along. Nick was shot around the track at WGI at triple-digit speeds. Take a look.
The Salem's 6 Hours of the Glen race is just around the corner, and I had the chance to take a ride in a 600 horsepower, 2-seat Daytona prototype. And after putting on all of the very hot but very important safety gear, I had to get into the car. which is not as easy as it sounds. But once I was buckled in, I was sent rocketing around the track at blistering speeds.
That was something else, let me tell you. Never been that fast, going that fast before.
That's the same kind of car as a prototype car that will lead this field and will win this race overall. We'll have about 14 of those cars out in this group of 55 that'll race for the overall win.
Christine Young of PENN was able to take part in the Continental Tire Ride-Along event after she won a contest.
I was really excited. I'm glad I took the opportunity. I almost gave the ride to my husband to let him try it, but I don't usually win stuff, and I usually don't take advantage, so I did today, and I'm really glad I did. It was fun.
And this time last year, WENY's Tanja Reiki was getting to know some of the fans who arrived in the area with race fever.
Start your engine. It's the start of NASCAR weekend, and these people have race fever.
We're here from Whitney Point for our first time, and I come down to check out all the cars that are on display. I'm a huge NASCAR fan, so I'm really looking forward to seeing all the cars on display.
For 28 years, fans have gotten a chance to get up close with local and NASCAR show cars. Like Kyle Busch's M&M show car, plus some haulers. Brittany Jack got into racing 15 years ago and races regularly at the Sheahen Speedrome.
My dad actually just came home with a race car. Do you want to race? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? Let's try it out. And then he couldn't get me out of it.
Local drivers from the Woodhull Raceway and Wyoming International Speedway look forward to events like this all year.
As a racer coming up through, I get to finally race with the guys who are on TV that we get to hear about. So I think sitting where I am for the season, I think we're in a pretty good position.
It's his first time here at the event.
I get my Sharpie ready so that we can sign some autographs.
If you haven't heard, WENY has a live action-packed show right from WGI this Thursday, the 7th at 7 o'clock. Last year's sports director Andy Malnoski and former sports reporter Josh Gitzoff hosted the night. Not only did they highlight big-name stars at the track, but brought you the stories of local racers who are in it for the love of the sport.
Tim Lewis, Tony Hanberry, and Don Hanberry. Can I get one volunteer, please?
It's race day again at Sodas Point Microd Club. Another day of speed, roaring engines, and youthful exuberance on display. For young racers in New York State, it starts right here.
Cars that you see out here, yeah, they're small and everything, but they are real race cars. They're as sophisticated as any Sprint Cup car out there or nationwide car out there.
There are big dreams for the youngsters who ride this track and others throughout the New York State Microd Club circuit, dreams inspired by the success of one of their own. Former Microd Club racer and current NASCAR Nationwide Series driver, Regan Smith.
Here comes Regan. Regan started when he was 4 years old. They actually fudged the birth certificate to get him in here.
It was where I got my start. It was, where I first learned to drive a car, even, or to sit in a car and understand what it was to go fast.
Smith's success has taken him from this to this.
Smith gets the flag, and this time he'll get to keep it. How about that?
When you watch the graphics on TV, you'll see Cato, New York. And when anyone sees that, they know that's real close by. That's the hometown hero.
Major ups and major downs, and I think this would be classified as a major up for sure.
And now the kid from a town that's population is under 1,000 is set to return back to his home state of New York and race in front of his most supportive fans during Saturday's running of the Nationwide Series Zippo 200 at the Glen.
A win here would mean more than anything to me. I've been fortunate enough to have some really big wins here lately, and some in the past, and definitely this one would rank right up there in the tops of them.
Yeah, it's got to be awesome because he grew up doing this with like a few people, and now he's in front of thousands of people.
And at the same time as Regan chases the checkered flag on Saturday, hundreds of youngsters will chase his old dreams, wearing his old helmets and racing his old cars. To them, Regan Smith is a hero.
Stay tuned. Right after the break, we bring you some more highlights of last year's Thunder at the Glen.
Twin Tier Sunday will return in a moment.
Welcome back. Last year's live show at Watkins Glen Race Weekend was jam-packed with action. Sports Director Andy Malnoski named some of the top 5 moments in the track's history.
The top 5 moments in Watkins Glen history. Number 5, 1995. Mark Martin won his 3rd NASCAR race in a row at WGI, the first ever driver to accomplish that feat. Martin would become the driver of the decade at Watkins Glen, and with his trademark Valvoline car in the red, white, and blue, Martin would become Mr. WGI for several years, taking Watkins Glen and NASCAR by storm. WENY HD Sports salutes Mark Martin, the number 5 best moment of all time back in 1995, winning his 3rd in a row. Number 4, go back to 2001, and Jeff Gordon wins again. Gordon won an astounding 4 races in 5 years at Watkins Glen, highlighted by 3 in a row from 1997 to 1999, a feat that may never be duplicated in track history again. In all, Gordon has 8 top 10 finishes at the Glen and 6 top 5s. WENY HD Sports salutes Jeff Gordon, one of the best drivers of all time at Watkins Glen. Number 3, 1986, after a 31-year absence, NASCAR returned to the Glen to see this man, Tim Richmond, take the checkered flag. Richmond would win a staggering 7 races in 1986 and was the driver of the year. Sadly, Tim would pass away in 1989 from the AIDS virus, but not before leaving behind a legacy, not only in NASCAR, but at Watkins Glen International. WENY HD Sports salutes Tim Richmond for the number 3 moment in WGI history. Counting down on the top 5 moments in WGI history, we've made it to number 2. And this one should be familiar. 2009, Tony Stewart wins again. Stewart would take the checkered flag for a record 5th time at WGI and stands alone in the win column. Stewart won back-to-back races in 2004 and 5 and won his first NASCAR Sprint Cup race at the Glen back in 2002. WENY HD Sports salutes Tony Stewart, one of the best drivers of all time at the Glen.
And of course, Andy grew up here in the area, so some of his favorite memories was the history him and his family made at the track.
To come up here, but take a look at Watkins Glen history, my Watkins Glen history.
But every summer and every year, you look forward to that race at Watkins Glen because it was the biggest event of the summer. It brought the most people out, in the thousands and thousands of people. Nothing was bigger than Watkins Glen. To me, it goes way, way back to when I was a little kid. The first race I went to at WGI was a NASCAR race in 1992. Kyle Petty was one of the guys, one of the front runners. It's something I'll never forget. My brother Mike was very instrumental in getting us involved in NASCAR and watching the races, enjoying the scene. Movies like Days of Thunder always come to mind. But Watkins Glen, my dad always got tickets to go up there. We always enjoyed it as a family and watched the races. And my dad even got a picture with the Bud Girls one year down at work. They stopped through in a limousine, got the picture. It's really cool. So race weekend, when that comes around, even today, now to be able to cover it and to relive so many of those experiences when I was younger, to cover this event, it means so much to me. And to do the Thunder at the Glen show up there, station history this time around. This is the first time our station's ever done it. To do it with a guy like Josh Getzoff, who I admire so much, it really means a lot. There really is nothing like NASCAR weekend in the area, all the way from Corning to Wanda. Every place you could imagine is all up in arms and just geared up for this NASCAR race on Sunday. And every year, as we say, it's for the fans. It's Michael Perp, it's everybody, it's the whole ball of wax that are going into this thing. And Watkins Glen International, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of honor, there's a lot of tradition. And when that is wrapped into a really great fan base, there really is no better experience in upstate New York and throughout the region, and I dare say the country, and really experiencing something for yourself, because Watkins Glen International, it's a great time, and it's a great race for a reason, developed over the years, and this year we're going to top it even more. Thunder at the Glen, it's an honor to do it. We appreciate everyone watching in, and there's nothing better than WGI.
Now, before we go to break, take a look at some of the history that was a little bit more hard-hitting. Some of the biggest crashes at WGI.
First off, let's go back to the year 2000. Jimmy Johnson coming around turn 1, and he never stops. Johnson flies over the sand trap and crashes into the foam wall. He would be okay from the wreck. It was quickly to show fans he was indeed just that. Johnson has never found victory lane at WGI. On to number 4, this one not exactly the biggest crash, but it has some smoke style. This is from last year's NASCAR race at the Glen. Tony Stewart, they call him Smoke. He had some here and somehow finds his way down pit road. Nice after that. Smoke has won 5 times at the Glen.
Oh, goodness. It's like, oh, my gosh.
To number 3 from 2011, David Ruderman flips out. David Reagan collides and turns this one into one of the most violent crashes in Watkins Glen history. Luckily, everyone would be okay. Anything typically and usually happens right before the iconic S's at WGI.
Here. Be ready, folks. This is hard.
Ooh. Let's move on to number 2, 2009. Jeff Gordon and Sam Hornish bring a whole new meaning to the road course crash. This one even went green. A total of 6 cars were involved, and this one made its mark on WGI history. Amazingly, though, everybody walked away from the crash. And number 1, 2008, David Gilliland and Michael McDowell collide in the final turn. And yeah, just chaos. Bobby Labonte and Sam Hornish crash, and the water barriers explode, causing one heck of a wreck. So when you're watching the race, expect the unexpected at Watkins Glen, a road course unlike any other.
Twin Tier Sunday will return in a moment.
Welcome back. We're going to be here with Betsy now. She's going to tell us about what is going on right behind us right now. They are testing out. Go ahead and tell me what the testing is for, and now that it's 2 weeks almost to the day when they're going to be racing.
The testing, Jennifer, is for them to be as prepared as possible to win either the Cheez-It 355 at the Glen or the Zippo 200. We've got a nationwide team here preparing for the Zippo 200, and the rest of the gentlemen drivers here are competing, or will be competing in the Cheez-It 355 at the Glen. So it gives them an added opportunity to develop race strategy, figure out setups, see what might work best on August 10th.
So all day, what is kind of going on from when the racers arrive to when they leave here? What are they doing with their cars and on the track, anything like that?
Well, for the drivers themselves, they're just getting practice at running laps, getting more familiar with the course. Some are more familiar than others. We've got Marcus Ambrose here, who's obviously quite familiar at Watkins Glen International, having been multi-winner. So he's kind of a road course specialist. The rest of the drivers here kind of fall into either a road course specialist, or they've really seen the position of Watkins Glen in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series schedule and know that this provides them a chance to make the chase. If you win in the race to the chase, you have a spot in the chase. So all you need to do is win it to be in it. And for some of them, like a Marcus Ambrose or an AJ Allmendinger, who's also here, this is their chance to get that win.
Really cool. So how many is this the only testing, or is there another round of testing before the Cheez-It?
This is the only round of testing that we have here, Jennifer, but there are several teams and several drivers here all at once.
It is very cool. Betsy, how long have you been working with WGI?
I have been here for 3 years. This is my 4th season.
So did you kind of get into this for the love of racing? Because you do, I guess you learn a lot about it once you get started. What kind of propelled you to want to be involved? Because anywhere you go on the track, anywhere you look on TV, you're going to see Ms. Betsy over here.
Yes, much to the dismay of some and to the pride of my mother, that is definitely is what has happened. But I was a casual fan of the sport. The first NASCAR race I ever attended was at Watkins Glen International with my dad, and the opportunity presented itself, and I was like, you know what, let's do it. So I've learned a lot more than one could ever imagine. I have a lot more to learn than one could imagine, but it's a lot of fun, and doing public relations for a road course facility is not a bad gig.
That is pretty cool. Now, looking back to your first race, whether that be the one that you worked here for or the one that you went to your dad with, what is your favorite memory that you had, looking back?
Let's see. Looking back, my favorite memory is pre-race. Last year, and just seeing it all come together. That's a lot of small pieces, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls of just making sure everybody knows when to be there and when to be there, what to be doing, to be completely prepared. And when you see it all come together, you're usually, I'm very happy. And for sailing 6 hours, we were able to bring the Army Golden Knights in, and that was a lot of logistics, and that was pretty awesome as well.
That's great. Now, what do you tell people who are coming out, going to be enjoying what is going on right behind us? There they go. On one. Do you know which driver that may be?
That was a very loud AJ Allmendinger.
There you go. So we'll hopefully get an interview with him in just a little bit. But so what would you recommend to people if it's a hot day for them to kind of bring with them, because they're going to be sitting in the stands? What would you tell them to kind of prep themselves, either rain, sun, or I guess cold too, just in case?
Yeah, I was a Girl Scout, so I kind of take the mentality of a Boy Scout or Girl Scout and just be prepared. You're able to bring in your own cooler, so you can bring in your own water and lemonade and beverages and food, so make sure you've got that. I'd probably grab a hat at the Pyramid, sunglasses, sunscreen. I'm Irish. I know exactly what happens in August with sun, so you just need to be prepared. Bring a layer or two just in case, but just have a lot of fun. Know that you have the ability to walk around, even if you have a grandstand seat on Sunday. We also have general admission tickets, and those individuals just they walk around in between or outside of the fence and take a look for a little while at one place in the course and walk around and watch from another place. So there's a bunch of different opportunities and ways to make sure that you keep in the shade and be smart and take a break and get water and all of that.
It's definitely a family-friendly event as well. Would you recommend, what was the youngest age that you'd recommend if somebody's got kids, maybe babies even, or maybe 2 or 3? What's the average age range that you'd recommend start bringing your kids to the track?
I think it's a personal preference, Jennifer. So we see infants here, and then we see your 10 to 12-year-olds. We have pricing that's kids to 19 and under. So we get everybody. It is definitely a family event. We've got the McDonald's Family Grandstand.
I must say, he's pretty fast. That was pretty cool. I've never been here. I've never seen a race, so that was pretty awesome.
And he's out there by himself. So just wait if he's around like 42 of either his closest friends or enemies, and imagine what happens when they're all here. So, but as I was saying, we've got the McDonald's Family Grandstand, which is obviously kid friendly. They've got like bounce houses and stuff. So I would know that the race is 355 kilometers, hence the number. So you're looking at 90 laps. You're looking at about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So if you think that your child can sit still for that long, know that they don't have to. You can get up and walk around. You do the McDonald's grandstand. You can do the bounce houses. You can sit in any of the grandstands that you like. They all have kids and teens pricing. You can walk around. You can go check out the midway, find out the shops, get the T-shirt of the favorite driver. So it's whatever you think is best, but we're happy to have anybody come on in.
Wonderful. Very exciting. I know it's been a wonderful time walking around, getting to see everything. This is my first time actually at the track for a race event. And so this Thursday as well, WNY has an hour-long live show. Here it comes again. So make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be a great one. I know Andy and Jenna have a jam-packed show, so it's going to be wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Betsy, for showing me around.
My pleasure.
There you go. And all right, we'll see you next week.